Hello, and welcome back to Let's Get Lit. In today's episode, we're going to be going over the Canon Yeoman's Tale from the Canterbury Tales. In this story, we're going to learn all about alchemy, how it's deceptive, and why you should never really fool priests and or other people just to gain gold or money. Let's jump back in time, shall we? The tale starts out with the entire company riding along after the second nun's tale. As they're riding along, a yeoman and his master come riding up to them. Both of these men look incredibly sweaty, and their horses are panting very harshly. From the yeoman, we discover that the two of them had witnessed a large group the night before making their way to Canterbury town. The yeoman tells the group that his master wished that they could join them. That way they could revel in the company's laughter and stories, etc., etc. The host looks at him and instantly says, "You are welcome to join this party." That there is also a game going on, and everyone's going to tell one or two stories, and whoever has the best will win a prize. The yeoman is so enthralled by this that he decides that he will bet whatever he can to join this game. The host asks if he knows any stories, and the yeoman says that he doesn't know many, but his master knows a lot and is very smart. The yeoman actually starts talking about what him and his master do, which is alchemy. And it's very funny because as he keeps talking about the alchemy and turning nothing into gold, the master comes riding up and is basically telling him to shut up, stop revealing the secrets, and that if he were to tell any more secrets, he would be severely punished. This is where the host turns to the master and says this boy will not be hurt by anyone in this party at all. The yeoman's master is so embarrassed he actually just decides to run away, or ride away, and so he does. After the master has ridden away from the group, the yeoman decides he's actually going to tell everything he knows about what his job was and what he did for his master working in the alchemy practice. This is where the Canon Yeoman's prologue ends. We learn from the yeoman that he is going to have two parts to his story. The first part is kind of like a tell-all of what he did for the canon as his yeoman and what he did in the practice of alchemy. The Canon Yeoman tells everyone in the group that his job was to fan the flames when they started working on their different potions and elixirs and trying to turn nothing into gold. He then goes on about all the different types of metals and ointments, spices, herbs, materials, you name it, that would go into these recipes, which pots were the best to use for certain recipes, how everything was to be precise. He also says that as hard as they tried, they never actually were successful in the art of alchemy. He says that if there was a mistake, which usually there's always was, that everyone started pointing fingers and blaming everyone else for the problem. Some would say the ingredients weren't pure enough, some would say the fire wasn't hot enough, others would it was too cold, one would say the blower wasn't doing his job, and some would blame the pot that was being used. All in all, the Canon Yeoman states that it is a folly of an art form, and that it ends up costing men way more in terms of money to practice this art than they'll ever see recovered in their lifetime. He also states that you can tell someone who's practicing this craft a mile away. And that is the fact that most men who practice this art form are always very poor, wearing very poor clothing so that way they can hide their disguise, and they usually always stink of brimstone. He says that most men who practice this art form the same type of appearance and traits, that way they can hide from religious men who might persecute them for what they're trying to do. After all of this and the explanation, the yeoman says that he's now done telling about what he did in his previous job and how he wishes embarrassment and shame upon his previous master. Now he'll begin his actual story. The Canon Yeoman starts his story off by asking if they would be interested in hearing a story about a canon and about how corrupt and evil this canon was. He also addresses the crowd and says, "Please forgive me, for I do not mean to slander anyone who holds this position, but would rather want to warn people that if there was a traitor amongst them, to find him and get rid of him. Just like Judas Iscariot was one of the apostles, and he was the only traitor of the group." After this, he then begins. The yeoman starts his tale by telling of a wicked and evil canon who is widely known for his skill in alchemy, and goes to a priest and asks to borrow a little bit of money, and tells the priest that he will return with this money in 3 days' time. The priest lends him the money, and sure enough, 3 days later, the canon comes back and pays him promptly. The priest takes this as a good sign, and that this canon should be trusted. The canon then tells the priest that he has a secret, and that he has practiced some new art and skills that can turn common metals into silver. Amused by this, the priest asks exactly how this can be, and if it's truly possible, to which the canon tells him yes, he's able to, and that he will actually show the priest how it's done, but only in secrecy, for he cannot reveal his skillful ways to everyone. The priest agrees to this, and the canon tells him that he needs to make sure that he has certain ingredients, and that it is to be just the two of them inside this lesson. Sure enough, the priest agrees, he goes out and buys all the ingredients, and soon it's just the two of them left alone inside. The canon begins to make a big spectacle, and has the priest combining the ingredients, putting everything into the pot, and raking the coals and stoking the fire. While the priest is not looking, the canon has a small piece of silver hidden inside of his sleeve, and when the time is right, without the priest knowing, he slips the little piece of silver into the water pan for the priest to find. When the priest finds this, he is over the moon excited. And he's also happy about the fact the canon was right and he was able to turn chalk into silver. The canon tells the priest that not only is he able to use chalk, but he can use almost any other type of material to turn into silver. The priest, amazed by this, asks what they should try next, to which the canon says go buy some copper, and that he will show the priest how to turn copper into silver. The priest goes and gets all the ingredients, and again the canon tricks him. This time the canon has quicksilver buried just into the little tip of his cane that's covered by a layer of beeswax. As the priest is doing all the rituals and following the recipe, the canon takes his cane, puts it near the fire to melt the beeswax, and sure enough, puts the quicksilver into the pan and fools the priest again. The priest again is amazed by this and over the moon excited. The last and final time, the canon asks the priest to go get a stick, and that he will show him how to turn a stick into silver. The priest goes and gets all the ingredients, and they are left alone, just the two of them. The canon again tricks the priest with a small amount of quicksilver. After this, the priest is surely amazed, and the canon further deceives the priest by telling him to take these 3 pieces, which he has made, and go to the blacksmith just to confirm that it is indeed silver. The 2 men set off for the blacksmith, and sure enough, the blacksmith reassures them that this is indeed silver. The priest is over the moon excited and says how can he ever repay the canon, to which the canon says that he needs to charge a 40-pound fee for his service, and for this skillful art that he has now taught him. The priest tells him, say less, and he goes out and gets the money and pays this canon. The canon Yeoman finishes the tale by basically condemning and vilifying the evil men who pretend to be somewhat of a holy man, of teachers deceiving or tricking people in the church. He also warns of every man that they should not practice this futile art, for they will surely lose everything they have, going mad trying to make this happen. He uses famous philosophers and references from the Bible to back up his ideas and his thoughts for the crowd. This is the end of the canon Yeoman's tale. I hope you guys fully enjoyed this episode. Join us again as we go over the Manciple's tale. Have a great rest of your day. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, stay lit.